All right, guys, from season 3, episode 9, titled Revelations, chapter 1. I believe we said Luke is going to start the party. What did I do, Kathleen? Why are you laughing at me?
I was just about to say, what do you do? Go at the same time as you, but you didn't say it.
The first time. Yeah.
I
Dude,
toes.
I didn't get to do it yet. What do
I
you
was like,
do?
what do you do? Go.
Okay, so first things first, the Discord has been unbelievable recently. Like you guys in the
Yes.
Bingetown community that are talking, it's like a dream for us. I mistakenly said, I think last podcast episode, that we were getting hundreds of messages every day, and I meant week. And now we were literally getting hundreds of messages every day, which is insane turnaround over a week. All the new people coming in. We love your theories. We love how you're just communicating with the Bingetown homies that have been there since day one. Just keep it going, because it's seriously, even if we're not jumping in every day and answering, I promise you I'm reading every single text in there, every single message. Of course, we have the screeners, so there's times in the week where we can't really comment because of the spoilers, but I love seeing all of your guys' thoughts. It's really amazing, and I hope that it keeps carrying over past just the From channel when this takes a little bit of a hiatus, because it's so fun. It's one of the most rewarding parts about being a podcast, and shout out to all of you guys. We love you. But
100%.
From season 3, episode 9, Revelation chapter 1. I said this right before we started. I think it was such a red herring to call this Revelation chapter 1. They should have just saved the Revelations reveal for next episode and name this something else, because we're queued up for a lot of big reveals, but basically everything that happens this episode, besides the very last scene with Tabby, is more like surface level what the fuck moments. And what I'm talking about there is things like the boy in white speaking, which was crazy awesome. Like that blew my mind. Things like that. Things like yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that for now. But like, I don't think the overarching plot got a lot of the revelations that I was expecting.
Right.
And hopefully they deliver on that next episode. But this wasn't a bad episode in a vacuum. It's just my expectations were so high because of the name. That could be on me. Maybe you guys agree, disagree. I don't know. We'll get to it. But now the expectations are even higher for the finale. And I think that's universal for the community. Like, we need to be fed with some freaking satisfying answers, even if it's not just like the biggest answer we've been looking for, but things that we've been playing around with. Like, we need some Fatima stuff. Now that Sarah's hearing the voices again, I'm thankful that the writers remembered that was a thing. Like, maybe we can get some answers there. But some of the other things I just want to throw out there. Shout out to Jim for not Jimmy on the podcast, Jim in the show, for not being the worst. He actually had a little bit of character development. I hope that is a sign for the future. And I'm specifically referring to his conversation with Randall, which I did not think was going to go that way. We'll talk about that for a second.
You know what that means? They're giving Jim some great scenes. They're bringing him back from, you know why?
Death
Kathleen,
flags.
you got it.
Death flags.
He's done. Game over. He would be a big death if they did that, but it would be funny if they did that, just because everyone would be fist pumping, but then at the same time, they just gave him good scenes. So it's like, oh, you're actually making him a good dad for a second. Oh, now he's dead.
No. We'll get into it. That did not save Jim for 1 second for me.
No, it didn't save it, but but what I'm saying is that it's a typical writer's thing to do. If you want to kill this guy off, you give him some kind of redeeming scenes right before it's time to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And the last piece I'll put out there, and I'll pass it over to B-Toms, is that a confirmation that Tabby is Eloise? Like, is that too just like in our face? Is that what that was saying? Or is that just
Miranda?
She's Miranda?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Miranda.
Okay, so it is a reincarnation thing. I couldn't really determine what they were trying to say there, but okay, that's going to be the most fun thing to talk about, and that is the actual revelation, which I guess the show episode can hang its hat on. But again, everything's going to come out next episode. It's going to make or break the show, I think, for most of the fandom. I'm not saying us. We will be back for season 4, but it's they got a lot to deliver on next episode. As we've been saying, they got a lot of checks to cash for us, because it's just been too long since we've gotten concrete good information. But go ahead, B-Towns. What do you think about the episode?
I would agree with your statement that in a vacuum, this was a very strong episode. It was entertaining from start to finish. I kind of obviously it revolves around the search for Fatima. I really enjoyed watching the pairs of characters. I think the writers kind of strategically put them, and there was a lot of good conversations had in all of those kind of sub scenes, if you will. But yeah, like you said, I mean, the revelations are going to come in part 2. And maybe if we were binging this and we could actually watch it like the part 1, part 2 back to back, it would be a lot more satisfying, because I'm assuming they're going to pick it up right from the search. You know, they're probably going to see where Fatima is and what's going on with that. But yeah, I mean, it was a really entertaining episode. I liked a lot of what they were doing. Definitely got some things to say about Jim and his storyline. What a turnaround. Don't call it a comeback. Elgin, I mean, dude is creepy, man. He is just a creep and a half. And he was just like way overplaying his hand with Ellis. I was like, bro, keep it in your pants, man. Like, stop being like she's gonna be okay.
Pick a side, dude.
Yeah, it was just weird.
And Kathleen, I just off the back of that Elgin comment, I don't know if he was being possessed, and it might have just been weird acting and writing the last episode.
He's just weird.
Yeah, he's just weird. I think he's just weird.
I don't love that though. I don't love
Me
that.
neither.
It didn't seem like he was that weird before. He was a little, but
yeah, I don't know. I kind of think that fits with Elgin. I mean, I thought he was always kind of a weirdo, and I mean, when I say weirdo, I mean super nice guy, very passive. And it's similar to Sarah, where he's being told that he can get everyone home. He thinks he's doing the right thing. It's the actor is giving like the I'm a creep vibes on purpose. I would think, because he's just, it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but he's just not possessed, but thinks he's doing the right thing. I mean, it's fully the Sarah thing, but the whole she's going to be okay and that kind of thing is just, it's delusional.
Kind of my ending thought here is that this episode almost made me resent those middle 3 or 4 episodes that we've commented on. They were a lot slower, because let's take this Jim storyline. They spent this entire season shoving in our face, yeah, he's a toxic guy now. He's gaslighting Tabby. He's the worst. He's horrible. Just so he could have this heel turn here at the end of the season. It's kind of like with Fatima. They committed an entire episode in the middle of the season to be like, oh, Fatima's going downhill. It's like, bro, we didn't need an entire episode committed to that. We know that is bad news bears, what's going on with Fatima. So I think this just kind of emphasized how they've kind of really lost the pacing for this show. There's 10 episodes, and I feel like those middle 3 or 4 were wasted. But I'm going to end it on a good note. I feel like last episode was really good. This episode is also really good. And I think they put it on a tee to really deliver on these answers that we've been craving in Revelations Part 2. So I'm optimistic.
Yeah, before I get into one Discord comment, just that I love all the people that came for From. I hope everyone stays for other shows, even if you're just like watching a random show, throw it in the all TV discussion or what should I watch next? Because I just hit play on The Leftovers, which was getting thrown around a bunch, especially like adjacent to From, sort of in this like, I don't know, it's creepy, it's kind of dystopian type deal. So yeah, just do that. But you all said everything I was going to say. I had great pairings. I didn't love this episode, but I liked it. And I wish it was like cable TV when you used to get a big 2-part Grey's Anatomy finale and they could air 2 episodes in one night and everyone would stick around for both. And I guess they just don't really do that with streaming. It doesn't really make sense when you're dropping it week to week, but I wish they dropped it, especially because they called it Revelations Part 1 and 2. We hyped it up so much. I will say, need more Kenny. I meant to say that last episode that I've really been missing Kenny. I think he was such a strong point in the beginning of the series, dealing with Tien Chen and everything else, and like such an emotional highlight of the beginning, first 2 episodes. So it's really a bummer that he's taken a back seat. But, you know, in this episode, we get the good scene with Boyd telling him, like, listen, you're going to be that dude when I'm gone. And then Elgin and Jim, you know, Elgin, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around because I had mentioned that his scene with Julie was like a sleeper fave for me because it felt real. I don't think he was like, quote unquote, a weirdo before. I think he was anxious because he came on the scene having weird dreams about this place. He was immediately like, hold up. And then since he's been there, kind of weird things have been happening to him. So I think other than that, he was a pretty normal dude for his situation where he's all alone here. And I was really hoping he was going to be taken over by something, because we would have need to see him getting really, I mean, I know we've been seeing him see Phantom. I don't even know if we want to call her that or not anymore, but it's not like Sarah where she's being told to do something so much that she's brainwashed. I feel like just seeing Phantoma wouldn't brainwash you enough to be like, no, girl, you're good. Phantom, like, you are so good. This is good. Like, he's so weirdly, like, the direction of whatever the director is telling him to do is, I think, confusing us on his actions and why he's doing it and what is making him do that, or if he was kind of like that from the start. Just doesn't feel as steady. And yeah, we'll talk about Jim. I don't even need to. No one needs to listen to me talk about Jim off the top. So we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, it's good. Good episode.
I think that's actually a really good point, Kathleen, when it comes to Elgin versus Sarah, because I, in my own head, was saying it's the same thing, and I was putting them together, where Sarah seems very similar to Elgin to me, where she's just like a sweet girl and she's being quote unquote forced to do the things that she doesn't want to do because she thinks it's helping. And that was prior to when everything went down with her brother and stuff. But it's true. Like, they've shown Sarah really in pain and ow, don't make me do this. My head, this hurts. No, I don't want to do this. Kill the boy. Yeah, it hurts. I'm going to pass out, blah, blah, blah. Elgin did have the seizure at the beginning of his introduction to the show, but otherwise, it's just something telling him, you're going to help us get home. And he's just like, yeah, I'm going to help you get home.
Yeah, no question. Just do it.
Let's have a monster baby, and Fatima's going to drink my blood. And yeah, so that is actually a very good point. He is not in pain. He's not being quote unquote forced. So yeah, we'll find out what happens to him from that, because I can't imagine when he reveals it, if he reveals it, I guess, it'll be anything good. Like Sarah at least could have said, I was forced. Elgin's going to be like, I thought I was helping, guys. I mean, come on. And if Fatima stays alive throughout this whole ordeal, she's going to be there to tell how he was. So I don't know. I mean, that'll be a sad moment for Elgin, because again, I do think that he's very like a nice guy. He's very passive. I think he thinks he's helping, but it's just weirdly delusional.
I'm going to lead us in with a dumb question. So I'm going to start us with Elgin and Fatima in the bunker, or whatever we want to call it. So he's saying he's trying to protect her, and she's saying, you know, what's inside of me is not good, my guy. Like, this is not good.
Yeah.
And Elgin's like, it's going to help us get home, whatever. Is Elgin thinking this baby is like a baby that's just going to be a baby? Or like, what does he think is going to happen? Do we know what he think is going to happen?
That's the problem.
Okay.
Go ahead,
okay.
Luke.
Okay.
The only information that we got, and it was from this episode, is that he says that the baby helps him remember his dream of Boyd saving the town. So I think he thinks somehow Fatima giving birth to whatever this baby is going to lead to Boyd having whatever revelation he needs to save the town and get him out of there. That's all we learned, and it was this episode.
Right.
So we didn't know before why he was listening, besides her saying, the Phantom in the past saying, if you help me, I'll save the town. That's it. That's all we know.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be another revelation next episode.
This episode also led me to believe that there have indeed been some off-screen conversations between Kimono Lady and both Fatima and Elgin, because Fatima was like, I've seen her too. What she's saying is lies. And, you know, I guess they just weren't important enough to show us. So who knows what else she has told Elgin, but that's kind of where I'm at.
I think that sadly there are major conversations between Phantom, whatever we want to call her, Skinny Kimono Lady, and Elgin. And also, it's just funny to me, Fatima sees Skinny Kimono Lady and she's like, yo, this lady is scary as shit. And you're going to tell me that she's telling you that this baby's going to be something good for us. We've been talking about why does Elgin listen to this scary Kimono Lady since he's been talking to her. So I don't want to beat that dead horse, but I do want to say, shout out to Lost Man. What's down that hatch? Are we going to find out in the revelations what's down that damn hatch? I also want to say
that made me excited. That made me excited seeing that.
Yeah, that's going to be cool. That's gonna be cool as shit. And then shout out to Smiley. He got a nice little return. I can't believe of all the monsters they had to decide to kill him. He's iconic. Like he looks
Agreed.
like the I mean, obviously in the poster for the original season 1, it's so iconic with Boyd and then Smiley's like tapping on the window. I can't imagine why they decided that he had to be the monster to be killed off when it could have been any of them. But I am glad he got a nice flashback because anytime you get to see Smiley, let's go.
I thought it might be significant that it was Smiley. I always got the impression that he was like the head monster, and maybe that's just my headcanon, but I think it could still come back that it was significant and important that it was Smiley that got killed off. So I'm hoping there was intention in him being the one.
Yeah.
We don't have to get into the whole thing, but I did think it was interesting that we saw him sprint at Miranda.
Yes.
Because we never see them sprint like that. They're always
Michael
Lottie
Myers.
dying to kill.
And that is actually very, very important because we know that they can sprint. I mean, Michael Myers probably can if he wants. I mean, how does he appear places off screen when he needs to? But
I love screen, the
TikToks. Yeah, exactly. I love the Instagram reels and TikToks of people doing that around Halloween time when they're showing what Michael Myers does when he's off screen so he can get close to people. But the fact that the first time we're seeing him sprint or one of the monsters sprint on screen is when Miranda was rushing towards that tree. So again, it means that tree and her going through it would have been very important. We were worried last episode that the reveal showed that Christopher was actually the chosen one to save the children and not Miranda. And somehow, Miranda was seeing the visions, but the boy in white decided to go to Christopher. And we can get into that in a second because he does have that conversation with Victor. But maybe it is either or maybe something very good would have happened if Miranda made it through the tree and Smiley was there waiting for her and did rush at her to stop it. So I feel like that is an important point because we do want and we do kind of need Miranda after all this time to be a chosen one and to be important because otherwise what the hell was the whole point?
And just a tiny little meta break to the audience real quick. A lot of the times we bucket our episodes so that we follow characters and all their scenes, but this is like a way more chaotic jump around type of episode. So we are going to be cutting to the chase at the end for some of these storylines, specifically what we're talking about now. Like we're talking about the last scene in the Fatima bucket. So bear with us. We will try and hit all the big points, but I bring this up because while we're still towards the end of the Fatima scenes here, we get confirmation. I don't know if there was ever actually explicitly confirmed that the Phantom is evil, but this is like far and away confirmation when she decides to silence Fatima from screaming when Tabby and Victor are outside in the cellar. So we know for a fact she does not want, she wants the baby to be born. And that seems to be obvious at this point, but I feel like it's just worth putting it out there that I think her lying to Elgin, it's just manipulation, right? Like there's no way that it's going to turn out to somehow be like good for the town in any way.
And also the other confirmation here is that Sarah's voice was laughing and saying, you're not going to get her in time and all that kind of things, maniacally laughing and causing pain to Sarah. So you would think that equals if Fatima or if Kimono Lady is on the side of, we need to have Fatima hidden and the baby needs to be born. And then the monster entity is yelling in Sarah's ear, telling her, ha ha ha, you're never going to get her in time. I feel like that equals bad guy. But
I was actually going to say, why say anything to Sarah in the first place? Like that caused telling them that they're close is like making it so they could possibly stop it. So it's almost
that
like
goes. Yeah, I love that you say that because it does go back to two things. The first thing is that we have to remember whether it's the same entity or a totally different entity, it was talking shit to Sarah when Boyd was looking for the music box when they were at the ruins. Remember? It was very similar. I mean, it was telling Sarah, hey, it's right here, but you're not going to get it. And it laughed. Same exact kind of thing. It laughed at him saying, ha ha ha, you're not going to get the music box in time, which ended up helping them so that Boyd could utilize the torch and then eventually get to the music box in time. So it is weird. The part two is, again, are we playing with the hope versus, negative emotion scenario where, give them that hope, give them a reason. Oh, okay, fine. again, Boyd has a phenomenal speech where he's like, F you guys, we're not going to be broken, which again is pretty ballsy to say because we know what happened last time he said we're not going to be broken. But again, everyone was like, woo, baby, let's do it. There's that hope. And then if something bad happens next episode, there it is. They're feeding off the hopelessness that they could only have because Boyd made that speech and he knew, let's get everyone on track. Let's find Fatima. And everyone it rises up so that it can fall and the entity's eaten.
I totally agree. I think the hope piece is so important. And I want to couple all of that into the fact that I don't see any reason or any evidence against the fact that the monsters are just the ones straight up talking to Sarah, where they are teasing her in the same way that the Thomas that keeps calling Jim and Ethan, it's the same exact way. And Kill the Boy makes so much sense that they're talking about Boy in White, at least until we get more scenes talking about that, which we may never, but until I get information, like I'm just straight up assuming that the monsters are the ones talking to Sarah. That's it.
Yeah, and really quick theory. I brought this up a million years ago. Not my theory. It's just something that's been around literally since season 1 of From. Everyone was wondering if these monsters were going to be dark fairies, right? And the biggest thing about fairies a lot of the time they're tricksters. They like messing with you, right? They warp time, they warp reality, they do things to mess with you because they enjoy screwing with humans. It seems very familiar, and I've brought this up plenty of times with the Watchers movie and a lot of other things where these monsters or this entity may know, I don't want these humans to win, but I want to F with them. And I think it's important that they are being F'd with. Like, I like it. I like doing that. Trickster fairies, that seems like it could be a thing. And if you and this is me, I'm sure other people have theorized it too, but this is me mixing and matching theories now. I mean, I'm not really fully against saying that, our original theory or, an original theory that's out there is that these original inhabitants of Fromville, they showed up, the story that I told you, they showed up on their boats, they did the sacrifice of the 7 children, they were cursed, they became the monsters. I'm not against becoming the monsters, meaning becoming dark fairies. I know that there is folklore where dark fairies used to be human, so it could be very similar. And somebody was commenting on one of our TikToks or one of our YouTube videos saying, this is all great, and we may get these answers about the monsters, but just remember, and Brian, this is your line, just remember, Martin said, it's the tip of the spear, these monsters, it gets worse. And I hope I said it the right way this time. It gets worse. We don't know anything about the OG entity. If I tell you that these monsters were tricked by the entity, or these humans were tricked by the entity originally to become monsters or to become dark fairies, that doesn't give any answers of why this dark entity even exists in the first place, which is very blank slate. So could it be an OG dark fairy? Like literally any theory could work for that dark entity because we have no answers right now. So as much as we're getting, which is going to be sweet, I'm hoping Revelations is going to give us a lot. If it gives us a lot about the monsters, that still leaves a lot open for 2 more seasons, 3 more seasons, whatever they want to do. And it makes a lot of theories still open to be thought of.
Well said. I think we're probably good on that piece of the episode, unless anybody has a guess they want to throw out there for what's under the cellar or what's under Fatima. Is it an escape route? Does it lead to the tunnels of where all the other monsters are? Maybe. I don't know.
I was going to say Desmond, but I don't know, man. You think he's down
Could
there?
Could be that too.
Hitting those numbers, dude.
That would make me
could you
love
imagine?
This show.
No, seriously though. What if they did that? And they're like, what if they just, oh man, that'd be hilarious. Or if they were like, hey, it's, and I can't believe I'm remembering Desmond, but I can't remember his name on the 100 right now.
Kane,
yes.
Wow.
What if they're just, it's just boom, 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 boom. They're just bringing out Desmond Kane. I would love that.
Yeah. All right, B-Times, what do you want to talk about next?
What do I want to talk about next? I don't know. Victor's always fun. He didn't do much. He was doing his whole Victor shtick this episode, just purging his room of all his equipment, like hitting himself. Although I do like the chutzpah on him, just like enough is enough. I'm chopping down the faraway tree. And he was just like, something's got to happen here. And he just goes full send for it. It was funny seeing Acosta try and like talk him off the ledge, like, we'll talk to you if you just calm down. Kenny's like, nah, let him go. This is his thing.
Right.
He's been
you
here,
don't understand this, Acosta.
Yeah, you got to get some tenure here before you can confront Victor.
Acasa's like, why does he have the axe? And Kenny's like, well, they ran out of peaches, so he's a little pissed off. So.
Honestly, he went in that closet and I was like, is he looking for peaches? That was my first thought. I'm like, there's no more peaches, my guy.
I really did love how he does say, like, he's going a little cray. He's freaking out. Acasa's trying to chill him out. It's definitely not going to work. And he's like, this is crazy. Blah, blah, blah. He's like talking nonsense to her. But then he's like, listen, I'm not going to hurt any of you. Like, he's Victor still. He's still innocent Victor, quote unquote innocent. He's got the axe. He's like, I'm not doing anything to any human. I'm not going to hurt anybody. But this freaking tree is going down, baby.
And guess who was in the room with him? Miss Clara.
Yeah.
Miss Glass in her eye, Clara ass, mole.
Getting her one line per episode in.
Literally. I mean, good for her. I could be Clara.
Getting paid.
I could be Clara.
Getting paid, dude.
I could wear a bandana. But I knew, and I'm sure the rest of everyone knew, it's like as soon as Tabby grabs Victor for the first time and has that like vision, and Sarah sees Tabby have the vision.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, she's Miranda. I just knew. I was like, oh, here we go. Finally, we're getting an answer. I was hoping we would get it this episode, and we did. I was hype about that.
But they've hugged before, haven't they?
Before she goes through the faraway tree and Victor gives her the lunchbox, they hug 100%.
And it just didn't trigger it? Okay, that's weird. What's different?
It's all about the process, man. Trust the process. It's the quest. It's the journey. It's her journey. Let her have it. But Brian, I know that you're about to say something, but I don't know. Do we want to move to that, or do we want to move to the boy in white? Because Victor chopping the tree leads to the boy in white.
Let's talk boy in white, then we can talk the Miranda of it all. I don't know. That was the first time we've seen the boy in white interact just candidly, because I think he knew no matter what, that tree cannot come down right here and right now. But in classic fashion, he's like, but that's all you get. I'm walking away anyway.
Right?
Just like, come on, bro. Victor has been here for decades, and he was just like begging and pleading, help, do something tangible, direct me in some way. He's like, don't chop down the tree. That's your hint. See ya.
Yeah, and it cracks me up because, sure, like who threw the rope to Boyd? They hopefully may have had that set up since original season 1. But I love how they tried to write around the fact that the boy in white hit the actor has gotten older. When Victor's just like, you look different. And he's like, yeah, it's been like 3 years since you see me. I got to get older, bro. I'm like 14 now. So just
he's like yeah, man. His voice, as soon as he started talking, I was like, holy shit.
My jaw was wide open. I couldn't believe it. I really thought it was a good like WTF moment. Didn't give us anything. And Victor felt the frustration for the audience. He's like, tell me anything, man. And he walked away. So hopefully that sets Victor on the path to maybe go tell people, go talk to Ethan, go talk to Jade, tell them these things.
I also thought it was a bit of a lame excuse where he was like, I tried with Christopher and I realized that the only way is for you guys to figure it out on your own. It's like, well, I feel like you missed a lot from point A to point Z and drawing that conclusion. I feel like you could give us some nugget of information. I'm still like, does this confirm that the boy in white is pro our heroes surviving and getting out of here? Because he still seems to be playing the fence. That seems like a lame duck excuse that he gave.
I think he's on the side of helping, and it's just tough with these shows because you're writing yourself into a corner when you have someone like the boy in white who is quote unquote, I guess, all knowing, or it can have the answer to help. Why not just freaking show up and tell anyone who you need to tell and let the end game happen? Well, then there's no TV show, right? So is there some kind of rules he has to follow? Is he held back by the evil entity by how much he can say somehow? Is he chained down by something? I mean, yeah, it's very lame to say to Christopher or to say to Victor, I told Christopher and you saw what happened next. I'm guessing he's meaning that Christopher said F you and then Miranda went and then the massacre happens. Again, Brian, like you said, A to Z. How does the massacre occur? We don't know anything about why the massacre happened. We assumed, especially me, that Christopher was the chosen one to destroy everything. You know, I thought he was reincarnated just like Tabby is being reincarnated. Miranda, Tabby, Christopher, Jade. I thought Christopher's point was to be the one just chosen by the entity to destroy everything. But apparently the boy in white chose him to save everyone. So there's definitely a lot between A to Z that we don't know. And it's definitely weird. Like, okay, it caused a massacre. We don't know why it caused a massacre, but why can't the boy in white just go to the next person and be like, all right, this is what you need to do. You need to go through the tree and you need to save the children. All right, now there's more people here. Try it again. Try it again. If he really wants them to be able to figure it out, just tell them. So I don't know. I guess we're going to get some answers about why he can't. And it better not just be last time I had tried to help, it screwed everything up.
That would be a very weak plot and storytelling device. So I agree with you. I hope it's not that way. But let's leverage this into the Christopher scene that we get this episode with Jade, because I think Jade's really only in 2 scenes, so we can just talk about that both here. And I don't think it adds much, but it is really awesome that Jade saw Christopher with Jasper, and that was a nice little jump scare. Got me for a bit. But I love that he was making his own bottle tree. That was awesome that he was trying to do something. And he is getting a little bit I don't know, like self-deprecating, where he's saying, let me just get back to this and pretend like I'm doing something. Because he's starting to lose a little bit of hope. And if hope is actually like a measurable thing that matters to the plot more than just a metaphor, maybe there could be some implication there. I don't know. Maybe that's just reaching too far, but he is losing a little bit of hope. And this is the first time he's lost it since he gained the drive back. So I don't like to see that. But did Christopher say a line here? I forget if he said anything to him that was meaningful.
But basically, he's just taunting Jade, and Jade responds, and then Henry says, "Who are you talking to?"
And then it's like the little Jasper jump scare
and then
too, right?
Jasper yells, "Yeah,
okay."
I gotta say, Jade and Henry are such a good little pairing, and I loved Jade telling Henry, like, you don't even know this kid, and you came in here judging him, like your kid, meaning Victor. Like, he's also the audience in our Discord. You know, we complain about Victor a lot, but in our Discord, a lot of people stand up for Victor, and they're 100% right. And Jade says, like, Victor is the product of what this place made him. Like, he's not broken. This place shaped him into what he is today. Like, how could it not? He's been there for 150 years, as we know. So that's exactly. But either way, I just like love any scene with them. I loved it last episode. I loved Henry's part. Honestly, I just really like Henry, I think. But Jade,
the Tarzan comparison was amazing too. I love him phrasing it in a parallel to Tarzan. That's perfect. That describes the situation perfectly.
Yep. Agreed.
Okay, fine. Let's just do the gym thing real quick, which is just really the clinic and the Matthews stuff going on. Julie's getting, she's getting checked up on. Nothing super important here, but we talk so much shit on Jim. We need to give him his flowers when he has even the slightest bit of a positive scene. And that's when he goes and talks to Randall. And I thought he was just going to go down swinging like he does every single episode, but he somehow was like at least open to listening to Randall. And I think he ends up apologizing later to Tabby too. So like, these are just like his little moments where Jimmy, you might be right. He could be getting queued up for a nice death here, but that's pretty much what we get. And I think this is arguably his like the nicest light we've seen him in maybe the show. I don't know. Yeah. Which isn't saying a lot.
Right. I mean, a lot of people were saying on our Discord, what happened to the gym that wanted to get everyone out and was building the tower and was full of hope, in that whole scenario. And again, different people react to Fromville in different ways. Boyd doesn't seem to be able to be actually broken. It got very close. There's been times where it got very close. Maybe the whole thing with Jim and the tower and Tabby getting lost and all of that did break him in that way, where he just gave up on trying to get out of Fromville and accepted the situation that they're in. And then he became the worst character ever. It's sad, but he was very interesting. And it is funny because it's returning Jim to Randall, where, he's like, Julia, what were you doing? And she's like, I was with Randall. And she's like, it's not like that. It's not like that. But either way, you can't forget that Jim and Randall were working together at one point, and they were trying to get some answers. And all of a sudden, Randall's tying Donna to a tree and all this crazy shit is happening. So they do have some history. And I fully agree with you, Luke. I thought he was going to come down swinging. And I thought that Randall was going to own him, which he did get some good shots in back at him. Like, dude, I don't give a shit what you have to say. I know you're doing the dad thing. Like, I got my own stuff. I got cicadas in my ear right now that are freaking bringing me to the ground. I can't deal with your stupid Jim shit. But he did it. He did it right. I mean, he did it not to yell at him for being with Julie. He did it by saying, you and Marielle and Julie were all in the dungeon together. The dungeon trio. Is that what it was, Brian?
Mm-hmm.
The dungeon trio. Help me explain or help me understand because Julie won't explain, which I thought was the best that he could do in that situation. So I was very pleasantly surprised. And then, of course, the whole thing with Tabby just seemed very cliche. And that's exactly why I think that he's being queued up, because you make him the worst. And then you do, after all this time, and I think, Brian, you were alluding to this. I mean, I guess Henry's conversation helped him too, but he's like, sorry, I was pushing back. And now I am fully in, girl. Whatever you need, I'm here for you. I'm so supportive. Like, I'm glad he got to that point. And if you want to really defend Jim in a way, which I don't think anybody really wants to defend Jim, just like I already said earlier, everyone reacts to Fromville in different ways. If you want to have Jim say, I was so scared, I didn't want to lose my family, I'm very insecure about everything that's happening, and that's why I've been acting up and I've been being an ass, sure. But didn't make him not the worst. And yeah, you're giving him a little bit of a reprieve, but I do think it's for a reason and not a good reason for Jim.
I gotta say, I'm not into that. And I'm not saying it's not gonna happen. I'm just saying plot wise.
You mean killing him?
Yes, I don't need Tabby, Ethan, and Julie reaction and the whole next season them be grieving Jim. Like, I don't like Jim, but I don't need
especially because you don't care.
Line around grieving him. Like, I really, and that sounds really screwed up, but I think Tabby has bigger and better things to do than be hung up on some man. I'll tell you that again and again.
I agree. I also think Jim might still have a part to play in solving the mystery, because his parting shot to Randall, who essentially said, hey, just teach your kid how to drive. None of us are leaving here alive. He said, I refuse to accept that. And we kind of do forget, well, he's always been Jim and a little bit aggressive. In season 1, he was the one leading the charge on the whole antenna. Like he at one point was trying to find tangible solutions to make sense of this place and figure out some of the mystery. And I like to think that he might be back on that track. And especially if he's pro Tabby and is going to be building her up, he could be an asset to trying to solve this thing. So I think he's got a part to play. I hope his next visit after the Fatima stuff is done is to Jade and being like, hey man, I'm going to swallow my pride. You might be onto something. Let me get my engineer mind in here and figure out what's going on with the bottles and the numbers.
I don't actually think he's going to die, by the way. Just want that on the record. It just would thematically make sense for his character, but I don't think it will happen.
If you're going to ask me to put it on the board, I would say no.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's going to die either. I just think that they're weirdly queuing it up and giving him a reprieve. But again, to your point, Brian, someone like Jim, who everyone was like, wow, you have become the worst. That's the perfect person to turn it around and make him become one of like a favorite in a way, if he becomes the Jim again that wants to help everyone get home. And because I didn't mind Jim at all when he was the OG Jim, when he was first trying everything up until the tower. I was all good with. It's really just been recent Jim. So you can have that be a big turnaround. And one more scene with him and Ethan, that was another really good scene. Perfectly explained. Writers did a great job where he kind of reverse psychology Ethan into being, understanding that it's not his fault for what happened to Julie. Thought that was a very good scene. And then I thought for both of their characters, Thomas trying to talk shit and taunt them, they both kind of just were like, F it, we're walking away.
All right, I think that's plenty of Jim talk. Am I right?
I fully agree.
Ask me.
To be honest, I really only have 2 main things we have to talk about left, and let's just save the end for the end and quickly mention that it's probably important for the future of the relationship between Boyd and Ellis that we just bring up, at least that the Parkinson plot line is coming back and it's actually starting to matter a bit more. It really came out with Kenny and the Boyd scene that happened this season. But I love the idea that Boyd is still sticking with this whole idea that the monsters are trying to literally torture him. And maybe Fatima is another way to torture him, even though that's almost definitely not the answer because Fromville existed before Boyd got there. I do like that it is now centered around his torture, and he's even thinking it is, but that's probably not going to be answered. But it does make sense for his character after him having dealing with Kenny's mom dying in the way that she did and what the monsters actually said to him. But this was just like kind of like a father-son relationship moment where it was time for Ellis to figure out that his dad's not going to be around too much longer, and there needs to be like a succession plan, and basically he needs to be prepared for when he's gone and Kenny takes over.
I can't believe Ellis doesn't want to take over, man. He's the heir apparent. Game of Thrones style.
I have a dumb question. Did Ellis not know he had Parkinson's, or he just didn't know it was progressing?
I don't think so.
He didn't know.
He didn't know.
Freaking Boyd, man. He is something else. He's a secret
I don't have
keeper.
too much information.
There's been like a year or two where they weren't talking, right? Because of the Abby stuff.
True.
Well, no, they weren't. They weren't talking after Abby died, but I don't know how. I don't think it was a year. Well, maybe. I mean, yeah, I guess maybe because Fatima was there for a year and Ellis was there when she showed up. So
I loved that small little Donna moment where she was firmly not going to blow out Fatima's spot, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Obviously, Fatima's dangerous right now. But I know, right? But I do love Fatima, so it's like I'm glad Donna wasn't going to be a freaking narc. It all leads to the like town chase and seeking, but what?
It's the perfect cover up. It's the perfect alibi for being the mole. You go to Boyd and you say, I'm going to blow up Fatima's spot. I'm going to reveal her to everybody. And then, I love Fatima. I'm going to have a change of heart and I'm not going to blow her up because that was what we said last pod. Why would you be the mole and blow up Fatima's spot if you're part of the bad side of things and you want the baby to be born?
I will say, if Donna's the mole and they showed that little montage flashback of her 1 year thing, no. I'm going to say it's genius. Like, it's almost like Donna's having this like, should I be the mole anymore? Like, I kind of love these people. Like, you know what I mean? Either way, she could be having that moment where it's like, damn, I'm the mole and I'm screwing up people's lives. But I am like, loving these people, but I'm still the mole, or she's not the mole at all. And she's just a normal human being that happens to barge in at any terrible moment.
And I do want to bring up our Discord has asked the question, why do we care so much about a mole? The mole thing was a bigger deal in earlier seasons. To be completely honest, I have no thoughts. I really don't think there's a mole at all. I agree with the Discord.
Me too.
I agree with the Discord that the entity is all knowing. So why does it need a mole? Unless it's something where you need someone boots on the ground for better, and
100%.
Yeah. And you want to be able to control it that way, which that's fine. I mean, I'm not throwing shade at you, Kathleen, because, I'm saying, Kathleen, don't flip me off.
Where's the like, bam, bam, bam of like a thumbs up?
Yeah. We haven't used the sound effects. So
I'm going to say Donna, Clara, mole. That's all I have to say.
The boots on the ground thing makes sense because, you can't manipulate as the entity as good as you could if you have a person doing it. But again, another throw it on the board. No, I don't think there's a mole. And I do agree with a lot of the people in the Discord that the entity, why would they need one? And,
Okay, so before we talk about this last scene, does anybody want to bring up anything about the random pairings? I know we've mentioned a couple things with Ellis and Elgin. Whatever. There's the Ethan in the RV. They hear Thomas on the radio again. Again, a little nothing burger for me. Acosta and Donna had a good talk, which was cool. Because maybe there's a pathway forward for Acosta to get some real answers from Donna if she's not the mole and she's not planning this whole thing out. But all that aside, I don't think any of it was really important. And you already said it earlier because we are walking through that whole second town hall meeting. I love when Boyd said we can say fuck you to everybody, even though it probably isn't a good idea. It was still a cool moment. But besides that, I am ready to talk about the end if none of you guys have anything to bring up about the pairings.
Only one quick thing I want to bring up is you already said it, Kathleen. Very cool that Kenny has agreed to be the deputy again, but Boyd should have immediately been like, oh, by the way, I have something to tell you. We know that Fatima killed Tilly and blah, 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 and told him everything because he literally just said, sorry, man, you're never gonna forgive me. I didn't tell you about your dad. And then he's like, all right, you know what? I'll be your deputy again. He's like, all right, let's just keep walking and find Fatima, who, no big deal.
I mean, it's pretty quick, I guess, where everybody meets in the cellar after Julie and Tabby get pulled by an Ankui kid for the first time. Like there's actual direction being given by one of these ghost figures, and so I guess that is a little bit of information, meaning that they are good, and I think we always thought that like they were the final goal, like they're helping Tabby and the townsfolk out. So when they get there, they have this emotional moment where Victor was already being a creep down there, facing the wall, looking at there, not really doing anything. And we can talk about that too, but it ends up resulting in them having a hug and her having like this part 2 of a flash where she's really starting to realize things of I've been here before in the past. And then she sprints out of the cellar and sees where in a parallel type of cinematography scene where Miranda died by Smiley. And
Right.
that's like pretty much it, right? Like we've been dancing around a bunch of those plot points, but I'm sure you have a theory, Jimmy, but anybody, what do we want to start with here?
Before we dive into all of that, I want to say I'm really happy that Julie came clean to Tabby about everything that she blacked out.
Yep.
Like she's telling her everything she saw, and then they kind of piece things together with each other, which is just good communication.
Yeah,
I'm happy she did it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Boyd
like
needs
she
a
admits
thanker,
she
man.
lied. Yeah.
Julie's been good at facilitating communication this season, I will say. She's always like, just tell me, like, what are you seeing? Just say it. Like, don't keep it inside. So that was good.
That overall has been less of a gripe for this season. My number one thing I'm thinking is, okay, if Victor's just been chilling there in the corner facing the wall, probably been in there for more than 5 minutes. How long has Kimono Lady been like pinning Fatima down in that bed with her hand over the Fatima's mouth? Like,
and
gotta be shushing her for a while.
She was hitting the ground, pulling at the hatch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Those are the kind of things that it seems like Victor should have been hearing it.
For sure. And I guess I'll kick it off because I might be the only non-believer. Is this confirmation that Tabby is Miranda full on? That seems like another. You guys are getting from A to Z really quick. Just because she has the connection to the flashbacks, that could be any number of reasons. Reincarnation, kind of, maybe it could just be like a chosen one thing, but full on confirmed she is Miranda. That
whoa! I didn't say that.
Early to call the races on that.
No, I said it. Okay, so my
Claire is the mole I can buy.
Yeah, right.
AP
I'm
has
the one
called
selling
this
that. Yeah,
I call it.
Clara is the mole.
Brian must not have read Wheel of Time, Luke, because Miranda and Tabby are not the same person. They are the chosen ones, and it's their soul being reincarnated. So my thoughts are that the soul of the chosen one has been reincarnated over time throughout different time periods of Fromville's, however long it's lasted, meaning whoever was before Miranda was also the chosen one. So I guess technically Tabby, in my opinion, could see the person before Miranda's visions or thoughts or whatever. So I don't think that Tabby is Miranda. I think that they're sharing the same soul as as a reincarnation theory.
That sounds
I mean, I don't. To you, that might just mean that's the freaking same thing. But to me, it doesn't mean like, oh, it's Miranda reborn. I just think it's the chosen one reborn, and that means that they have those connections.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense because, like, the whole idea about the reincarnation theory, is it just restricted? I know there's different versions of it, but is it just restricted to the chosen one? Is that the only thing that matters? I feel like that has the strongest evidence for it. But then we have to think about all the peripheral characters. Are they also some form of this reincarnation? But I think we're going to still center on Miranda and Tabby. My question goes back to what is the thing that triggers her ability to see the past version of her life? Like, why is just being around Victor? Is it because Victor was in the previous chosen person's life? Is that all it takes? And why did it take this long? And why is like hugging the like physical touch the reason? Or maybe it's because they're in a specific spot, like being in that cellar could be special, and whatever is under Fatima could also be like part of the answers that we get down the line, that it could be a special location. And I think it might be because That's where Victor was when the massacre happened. Like, we've seen the Civil War soldier that I think Jade saw stabbed on the ground there. Like, there's some past there. And then we also saw Julie pop up there from a faraway tree. So there's more than just it just being a random seller out there. I think there's going to be way more to that story. And maybe that's part of the reason that it triggered that awakening in her. But then also, like, how does that connect to when she just touched and brushed his arm earlier? That triggered like the first part of the awakening. So a lot of moving parts, like there are for every single theory that ever exists for From, but at least we're somewhat centering onto the idea that even if Miranda isn't Tabby, like that's not a thing, like there's a deep connection there in some regard. And like, that's at least a start to an answer, but let's get to the next juicy part that we should be getting next episode so that the audience is fed. Cause it feels like we were grasping at straws here because we only have a couple of straws to look at. You know what I'm saying? Like we need more.
Yeah. And the biggest problem here is that when you originally said, Luke, is it because of the location? In my head, I was like, oh, that might be it because Miranda with Victor and Eloise, and boom, right there. But the problem is that Tabby and Victor hugged at the faraway tree when she went into the faraway tree, which should have then triggered her vision of Miranda at the faraway tree with Smiley. So why didn't it trigger it? Why now is it being triggered? Is it weird writing? Is it we need to wait until it's time to tell you? Or are they going to give us more of an answer? It could just be that I made the joke earlier. It's the quest. Like you have to go through the motions, just like what Kenny said. What was that to Marielle or Chris? No, it was to Christy when he said, you know, when you're one piece of the thread, you're not going to be able to see the whole entire whatever the whole thing is with the sweater. Maybe the whole point is maybe what we do will be able to get the next people home, right? Maybe we won't get home, but the next people will. You know, Miranda goes through her trial and error. Now it's time for Tabby to do it. And for whatever reason, Tabby's done enough this time to, I don't freaking know, remember more. That's the problem. Yeah, we'll see. I think for me, maybe I'm just putting on the, hey, it's reincarnation because I've been one of the ones theorizing it for a long time. So to me, I get anything and I'm like, that's confirmation. I feel like it's the confirmation, but it could just be that I'm on that bandwagon and I'm seeing it that way. When you brought up the fact that could it be any other people being reincarnated, my whole thing with Jade and Christopher was totally wrong, of course, when it came to Chosen to Destroy. The reason why I thought Jade was reincarnated with Christopher was pretty flimsy, but it was based on seeing Jasper those times. He's the only one who's seen the hallucinations of Jasper, and he's the only other one really seeing a lot of the visions and things like that. He saw Christopher this episode. I don't know if he's going to be a reincarnated kind of thing. It's to me, Tabby is confirmed, but I don't know anybody else. We haven't had any kind of hints of anybody else with past members of the town or anything like that.
Yeah. Any other thoughts for you two?
It's Miranda.
well,
Cooey.
So what do you mean? What do you mean?
I agree with you, James. I think it's like a soul thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Luke, talk me through. Really, love you, bro. Talk me through why you thought it was Eloise. You hit us with that, and then you never brought it back up.
I kind of was just like, I don't actually think it was Eloise. I was just assuming that that was because we know that Eloise runs out of the cellar and then ends up disappearing, right? I thought that there was a chance that it was from Eloise's. I know it was weirdly shot, but like maybe there's a chance Eloise saw her mom get murdered by the monster, and that's why we were getting that flash. But I couldn't. Yeah. You know, it could be. I'm still more on the Miranda side after we've talked this through, because that also makes a lot more sense with the whole with the similarities of their visions and everything, and that being like a shared memory that can pass on through the souls. That seems to make more sense. But we still don't have like a confirmation about Eloise, and it feels weird to not have some follow up from her just leaving the cellar and disappearing, right? Like I feel like there's going to be had. Yeah.
I am almost, I don't know. If you had to make me put it on the board, do I think she's alive? I will say that last episode, Victor was saying she was so good at hiding. She was the best at hide and seek. You could never find her. And the whole thing about before the talismans existed was you have to hide from the monsters. People have said, is Eloise knocking at the door? I can't, on the cabins, I mean. I can't imagine that, sir, because why wouldn't she just be like, hey, let me in? But
right.
it would be very interesting if somehow she survived and she's been in the woods. I don't know how you don't keep her alive after all this.
Right.
Like I don't understand how she doesn't get brought back into the story, because why wouldn't you've already told me she died prior?
Right. Or showed her body or something. Like it could have just been the
Yeah, I
end.
mean,
Who knows? But
right, why keep making it an open-ended thing if she's not alive?
My whole thing, the way Tabby reacted, she like ran out and was like, it's impossible. It's impossible. This whole season, she's been piecing together that her and Miranda have a special connection and share a lot of those similarities. So a realization that she is reincarnated and much the same as Miranda doesn't seem like it would evoke that kind of reaction. It almost, like Luke was saying, that reaction of hers and the way it was shot kind of from Eloise's POV, it like that seemed more like the revelation she got that, oh my gosh, I'm Victor's brother. I am Eloise. The whole time it's been me. How she got out of Fromville and those dots having to connect, I have no idea. But like, I don't think she would have reacted that way just from, whoa, me and Miranda really are the same, because she's kind of been being led to that the entire season. Maybe it was so. Both of them make sense to me, or it could be something completely different. I don't know, man. That's why we're theorizing.
Time loops. We kind of dropped the time loop thing, or like the pocket dimension of time.
For
like
now,
that could also, that could be something.
The whole time loop thing. I'm thinking that could explain why they can't hear Fatima. But I don't even want to spend too much, because she's like trapped in a different time, or maybe they're in a different time, or something about the room. I don't even want to discuss that too much, but could be something, or it could just
like
be Kimono lady pinning her down.
Like literally next episode, it could be a scenario where someone opens that door and it's actually empty, is what you're saying. Because Fatima was there
I
prior,
guess that
not now.
is what I'm saying, but no, that
like
does. If they open that door, but I don't love that, because if they find that room and the whole search party's out, Fatima better be in that damn room. Although she might be down the hatch. What a buzzkill that would be. They find the right place, but she's already dipped.
So, but I want to say off the back of that, let's talk about this, because I mean, I'm sure we're getting close to the end here, so I want to just put everyone to put a name on the board that you think, if you have to pick somebody that's not going to make it out of this season, who's dying, because I want that guess from everybody. But before we get there, because we can sign off after that, Jimmy or Kathleen or Brian, do you have any other thing you want to bring up?
No.
Claire's the mole. No, keep it moving. Keep it pushing.
Brian, put it on the board. Claire or Donna? Who's the mole?
Clara.
Oh, Claire's the mole. Donna likes Fromville. I think she loves Fromville.
She doesn't love it, but the only thing I want to bring up before we say who's going to die is, do you think that the hatch leads just back into a different part of the tunnels?
I mean, that's like the safe assumption, but that's also super boring. Like, I don't want that to be the answer. Because, like, if it's just like an escape route, or if it directly connects to the tunnels, I feel like at some point Victor would have been aware of it in some capacity, because he's been exploring the tunnels. And
I mean, that thing is, the tunnels are dark as shit. You need a flashlight. You're gonna look up and see a door in a random spot. I mean, and it's buried in the,
but
in the cellar.
what is even the payoff of that though? Like, why is that even
say you're either a monster or one of the townspeople having an escape route or a way to Michael Myers and randomly show up in random spots. It's just like saying it's a secret door in a mansion.
That feels like a episode 3 type of reveal, not like a season 3 finale type of reveal. So I'm kind of off that. I think it's going to be something deeper.
What do you think? It's like the experimental lab or something where we're going to find like white coats and shit.
That would be amazing, but we already dropped that here. I know that's not likely at all, but that would be awesome if there's like a team of people down there with like the cameras everywhere. That's just not going to happen.
So that's Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
I'm going to go first with my death, and I think it's going to be Elgin.
Elgin.
I think that he I think the problem with Elgin this episode was that he really, really, really wanted to tell Ellis that he had Fatima and she's okay because he's such a good guy and he thinks he's doing the right thing. So he knows the pain that Ellis is feeling and he just wanted to help him and be like, hey, man, I'm doing the right thing. I'm going to save everybody. Stop worrying. Fatima's fine. I have a feeling that she's either going to get found or he is going to break and maybe even be the one to feel bad and tell them this is where she is. It's fine, guys. She had the baby. Now you can go get her. And then Ellis is going to like rampage on him or something where you put him in the box, any of those. That's where I'm thinking.
I could see it.
I can go next. Elgin's a good one. I think it doesn't pack the punch I want for a death for Elgin because one, he's not that big of a character. He's a decent, I would say he's probably like a B plot character. He's driving a lot of the A plot right now. I'm going to say Victor. I think it's too early for Victor to go out in a blaze of glory. But I'm going to say Victor goes out in some he drops every ounce of knowledge. He's full clarity, zen as hell, tells us everything we want to know, and then he goes out in a blaze of glory.
He's like,
it's
peace
like
out.
we don't need this guy anymore. He told us
yeah,
everything.
this is actually the last season. Here's all the answers.
Clara T. She's the mole.
Yeah.
She's the mole. Okay. Victor
Kathleen,
dying. Yeah, no, my
that,
eyebrows shot past my
Through the
forehead.
roof.
They were in my hairline. Is how high you made my eyebrows go with that prediction. Now I'm gonna say the person working beneath Clara as the mole 1B to Clara's 1A. It's going to be Donna is going to be the death. And I feel like it might be Fatima's baby. Honestly, you took Elgin from me and I wanted to be different. So I'm going to go Donna. I could totally see that. And that would pack the emotional punch. And she is over this place. From is finally starting to get to Donna. So I feel like that would almost be something. I don't know. I could see it. Donna.
I'm upset because you guys took not Victor. That was not my option, but the other two were my number one and number two choices. I think that the dungeon trio is safe because it feels like that whatever is plaguing them collectively has a bigger part to play. Otherwise, I would have guessed Randall as my option. And then, Elgin, you talked me into that. That seems like a really good prediction there. But since I can't pick any of them, I'll go with Ellis because I feel that Fatima is not going to die. It feels too on the nose to kill her after this whole baby plaguing her and her drinking blood and talking to the Phantom. I don't think they're going to go that route, but it could be turned into a tragic turn where it's going to end up indirectly killing Ellis, which will then also harshly affect Boyd and keep staying in line with the idea that maybe this place is torturing Boyd specifically right now. So I don't feel strongly about it, but I do want to say Ellis. I really think that Elgin and Donna would have been my first two options. But definitely not. I think me and Kathleen will probably be wrong, but one of you two has a decent shot at being right here.
I also think that originally, early in the season, as we were trying to figure out, is Fatima a monster? Is she pregnant? Is she having a baby or an evil cursed baby, whatever? I definitely did theorize that, would it be ironic if Ellis had to kill Fatima in the same kind of scenario where Boyd had to kill Abby? I can still see that. I agree with you, Luke, though. I think that she probably is safe because she's kind of been through enough and it would be too on the nose to have that happen now. If she wasn't such an A plot, I would think that would be a more logical kind of scenario, more probable. If she was more of the B plot in the background and then, she has a baby or she turns into the monster and then Ellis killed her, I feel like that would make more sense. But I don't know if I want to go there now. Lastly, Brian, we're talking about this freaking baby, killing Donna or killing Ellis or killing anybody. I'm still so confused and there's nothing really to talk about, but are we having little Voldemort baby just chomping heads or something? I just don't understand what the hell this baby's going to be, man. If the baby is born, I don't know what
saw her stomach. Her stomach got bigger overnight. He can also radically grow into a monster if that's the route they're going to take. And it doesn't really break what we've seen yet. So it's possible that he could just, like, if a monster baby is born, they just grow up really, really fast, and next season it's fully formed.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just funny to me to imagine little Voldemort monster baby somehow mattering, but yeah, we'll
All
find
right,
out
I'm
next
good.
episode.
I know
Kathleen
Kathleen's
walked
good right
away.
now.
Kathleen walked away. She went on her quest, and I'm going to get this outro done before she shows back up. If you guys like what you heard, check us out at bingetowntv.com. Revelations Chapter 1 is out. Revelations Chapter 2 will be next week, and we will, of course, be here. Otherwise, we have right now, if you're listening to this episode, Silo and Arcane are out. Dexter or Original Sin and Dune Silo. Dune Prophecy is coming very soon. So please, guys, we've loved talking to you and chatting with you and hanging with you for all of these episodes of From. If you're on that feed, jump to Bingetown TV, join our Discord, keep the fun going. Once again, we are Bingetown TV, and thank you so much for listening.